Hey everybody, what is going on? It's Ryan Fontenot here with the 1 Million Cent podcast, and I am so excited for today's episode as we sit down and have a conversation with a great friend of mine as we talk all things life, ministry, and most importantly, how do we continue to tell this world about Jesus? You guys know the goal of this podcast is really to go off our initiative of 1 million cent to train 1 million teenagers around the globe to share the gospel by 2030. And I don't know of a better guy to have on than my friend right now, Jason Mick. Jason, how's it going, my brother?
Man, doing so well. Thanksgiving and Christmas have been awesome and amazing. Excited for all God's going to do in 2023. How are you, bud?
Oh man, I'm good. I'm good. It's had a great Thanksgiving and looking forward to Christmas. And so by the time this thing rolls out, people will be like, "Yes, Christmas was awesome," or "It was awful." I don't know, man. It could be both. Who knows?
All good.
But yeah, man. Well, hey, before we jump into our intro rapid fire questions that are always exciting,
Okay.
man, tell everybody who you are, where you're at, and what you are doing.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks again for having me on board with you, man. Love
Yeah,
what you're
for
doing.
sure.
Love the mission and the passion you got. I'm the next gen pastor here at Prestonwood Baptist Church in North Dallas, and I get to lead an amazing student staff, give some support and strategic leadership with our kids team on the hope and prayer that we get to watch a generation love and follow Jesus. So that's who I am as far as profession and what I get to be a part of here at Prestonwood. But I am a husband to Aaron. I'm a father to 4 kids. They're 12, 10, 8, and 6, a boy and 3 girls. So continue to pray for me and my sorority house
Yes.
and my son. Man, all things with kids and my family right now. We actually just took a quick trip to Disney World a little while back, and that was my first time to
Yeah.
Disney World. And I learned something. You can be tired at times, but there's a difference between being tired and Disney tired, and that is legit.
I've heard.
It is legit.
It's a
It was
deal.
a lot of memories, a lot of fun, and unique
There
moments
you go.
with the kids. So
That's awesome, man. I
yeah,
love it. I love it, man. I loved seeing the pictures of the 6 mix, man. It was amazing. So, dude, thanks for sharing those out for us to enjoy the trip with you, bro. My question, what was it all it's cracked up to be, man?
parts of it yes, parts of it no.
There
So
you go. Hey, that sounds like life right there, right? So,
the biggest win, honestly, and I told my wife this before. I said the biggest win out of all this is to
mhm.
watch my kids
Yeah,
enjoy the magic, if
100%.
you will, of
Yeah,
Disney. So
bro.
got 2
That's it.
kids.
That's it, man. I love it. I love it. Well, dude, speaking of that, let's jump into some quick questions here, just so people get to know you a little bit. I always ask
All
this
right.
one first. When it comes to drinks, which you're drinking water right now, are you more of a coffee guy or an energy drink guy? What's your flavor of choice?
I'll go either black coffee or sugar-free Red Bull. Both and.
Oh, oh man, dude, you are. I didn't realize we had the same taste in both of those. So I love.
Uh,
That's right, man. Awesome, awesome. Well, you don't always need energy drinks or coffee, but when it comes to when is your most productive time of day? Is it morning, midday, or night? Which one are you, man?
Morning. My best hours are in that morning time frame for sure.
That's good. Hey, do you do the afternoon kind of lull as well, like I do? I feel like after lunch, about 1 to 2 is kind of don't don't ask me to do anything creative at that time.
Yeah, my afternoon hours on my calendar actually fill up with more relational stuff and not like I'm having to
Yes.
strategically
Yeah.
things that I'm able to do some coaching, some encouragement,
Hmm.
some soul care with our staff. Again,
Yeah.
things that I can be present and not just
Right.
the wheel turning all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not trying to create something in that time.
yeah, for
That's
sure. I'm
awesome,
like you,
man.
so
That's
I'll do
awesome.
a lot of writing and strategic thinking in the morning.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, when it comes to travel, and I know as a student pastor and a dad, you travel. And so is your preferred method of travel driving? You a driving guy or are you a flying person?
I would prefer to fly. I would
Yes.
prefer to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the journey, people. I'm like, no, it's about getting there. All right. Let's get to where we're going.
I want to be rested so that I can better enjoy the journey
Yes.
where
Yes.
I'm
That's
where I'm
right,
going.
man.
So
That's right, man. Well, what's your favorite season, man? Winter, spring, summer, fall? You have a preference?
ah, let me say fall.
Okay. All right,
A
man.
variety of reasons, not just the weather and the temperatures. I mean, if you gave me low 70s, high 60s every day,
Yeah.
the changing of the colors and the leaves, and then
Yeah.
some college football. I'm all about the fall.
Okay. All right. All right. So just so the world knows, I know the answer to this. Who's your team, bro? Who's your team?
Oklahoma State, go Pokes.
There. Go, folks. Let's go, man. Let's go. I love it. So when it comes to destinations, would you prefer like the beach or are you a mountain guy? What's your preference?
When I'm taking students to camp, give me the beach. If I'm going to go
Okay.
relax and go on vacation, I'll take the mountains.
Okay, I like that. I like that, man. I like that. Well, let's just keep it with the holiday theme a little bit here. When it comes to dessert, pie guy or cake guy? What's your preferred dessert of choice?
Let's go pie. Let's go pie.
Pie. Okay. Do you have a pie that's your favorite?
Oh,
You have a go-to?
you could go cherry, apple, pecan, chocolate.
Man. Okay. Any of them. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
if there's
go.
any listeners who want to send me one, I am certainly willing to put a few calories down and
Well,
receive the
hold up,
blessing.
bro, because my man here, y'all don't know this, but my man has dropped some serious weight, man. He has gotten the health on point, bro. Where are you at right now,
Yeah, down 40 pounds and
bro?
just
That
maintaining this new weight and new
man,
lifestyle.
you look fantastic, bro. You look great, man. You see it in your face, man. It's just glowing. I love it. I love it, man. So, all right, now we'll go a little bit more spiritual here. When it
All right.
comes to Bible, Old Testament guy, New Testament guy,
Can I say both? um,
Jesus.
yeah, I mean
Yeah, yeah, you
it's
can.
interweaved all throughout both. Anyway, man,
Yeah,
there's so many great things about the Old Testament I love, from Isaiah and Proverbs and Psalms,
yeah,
Genesis.
yeah. Okay, that's fair.
If you're saying J Mick, just pick one. Let me just go New Testament.
All right, all right. Well, I always tell people if you have a hard time deciding if you're a preacher, then I'll just look at your sermons and we can see which one do you preach more out of. So that's right. So
We spent 3 years in our student ministry going through the Old Testament using the
wow.
Gospel Project curriculum.
Yeah, man.
We
Yeah.
just recently got into the New Testament a
Hmm.
few months back,
There you go.
but it was great.
Yeah, it's incredible, incredible. It's awesome to see how it all points to Jesus, and so
Yeah.
speaking of the New Testament, Jesus, the Gospels, I have a theory. So I want to know which one of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, which one is like that? Be hey, this is my go-to.
Give me John.
John. Okay, I love that, man. I love it.
John.
All right, any particular reason?
Just the personal relationship and connection,
Mm,
and you could see that kinship and brotherhood,
yeah,
if you will, from
yeah.
John's perspective of
I
Jesus.
love it. Yeah. So I tell people this. I have a theory that um, we could probably do some kind of personality test by asking people which gospel they prefer because they're all different. They're all the same but different, right? So I tell people I'm a
Yeah,
Mark guy because Mark's like just get to the point. Here's what happened. Get to the point. You know.
matter of
So
fact.
yeah, right. Those guys who like the I think the more logical research people. They like Luke, the doctor who wrote this, so it's kind of awesome to see. So I love that, man. I love that about you, man. Obviously, you have a relational shepherding, man, just gift in you. And so I'm not surprised you chose John. I love that, man. I love it. So, all right. And last, and I won't say most important, but last, and maybe most important to our listeners here, but don't answer it right now. I'm going to ask you the question, but I want you to come back at the end and we're going to answer this. We're going to leave this as a cliffhanger.
This,
Is Jason
this sounds like
Mick
a deep
a
theological, spiritual like question here. I'm. What is the question?
it's 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 deep, bro. Are you a dog guy or a cat guy? So don't answer that yet. All right, don't answer it yet.
All right, I'll hold off on that.
Hold on that one. I can't wait to see. And I'm realized as a dad and a husband, sometimes that is dictated outside of our realm. But if you had your preference, dog or cat, we'll come back to the end there.
All right.
Let's just start off right now, man. Tell us a little bit. You're the next gen pastor at
Yeah.
Prestonwood, a pretty large church, in the DFW area and has incredible influence. Tell us a little bit about what you do there. What's your role there? What does a typical week look like? What's your job, bro?
I love getting that question from even students at times. Like, what do you do all day?
That's
Do you just sit up
exactly
there and
right.
play video games and watch YouTube? I'm
Yeah,
like, no, I wish. But God uniquely placed me and my wife and my family here to be a part of the gospel advancing movement here in Dallas and to the ends of the
yeah,
earth. And I love being part of the Prestonwood family, the Prestonwood people. What I get to do, honestly, is You said it earlier. I get to shepherd. I get to lead. I get to preach, teach with our students. I get to strategically lead our staff and develop and pour in and invest into their lives. And I get to equip the saints
Yeah.
and bring our church family and others along for the journey. And so being a part of it at this time and juncture in history, at this location, man, I'm completely blessed and completely filled with gratitude and thanks.
I love that, man, and I know some people, man. As people watch this, we have youth pastors that'll be watching this. We have parents that'll be watching this. We have students that'll be watching and listening to this. So I know when somebody hears, "Hey, you're the next gen pastor," there are people who are called to ministry, people who are in ministry, but they always wonder, like, I think the second question I would always get from people is, "Hey, what do you do all day?" Is number one, right? But secondly was like, how did you get to where you are? So how did you get there, man? How did you get to that? When did you feel the call on your life into ministry? That kind of stuff.
It was when I was 17,
Okay.
and so back in high school, and this is one of those moments in life where, like, God, are you serious about this? Like, what does this mean? What does this look like? I didn't know how to answer that question. All I knew was God had called me to be a pastor. God had called me to preach, to equip the saints. And at 17, I had people affirm that in my life. And I was in a small church in just North Salt Lake City area. And, having gone through a few years of being questioned about my faith and wrestling with what I believe and why do I believe it, led me to that juncture at an early age. Now, I say that, and I also mentioned I didn't know how to answer it. And that was true. I didn't start walking in that calling and in that vocation until a little bit later on.
Okay.
So I was around 21, 22 when I finally started to discover how to answer that call and then working full time in a church context.
Oh man, that's cool. So you felt this call at 17, and there's probably teenagers watching this that maybe sense right now, hey man, I feel like God may be calling me. I was 18 when I met Jesus, and 18. I tell people, man, I was saved and called to ministry the same day. In no way to explain it except that. It was a year later for me that I stepped into an official position, but I started serving immediately, which kind of leads me to this next question. So 17, you felt this call. 21, you may begin to, what between those years, were you serving? How did God stir that up in you and everything?
Yeah, so even as a high school student, I took on just some more leadership and responsibilities within our youth group.
Yeah.
There were 10 of us in a 100-person church, right?
Okay.
But I said, hey, how can I help lead, shepherd, guide, pray, encourage, support? So in the best way I could as a student, I tried to do some of that. In my college years, I was serving at a local church, discipling some high school guys. I would help out with some discipleship now weekends from time to time. And even as I was working for a company my first year out of college, I was doing an internship with another church 20 hours a week.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's cool.
found just different ways.
Yeah, so as a student pastor, I know you have students called into ministry all the time, young men, young women, and maybe what are a couple of advice maybe you give to someone who's feeling that call, and hey, what you say, don't wait, start now. What would be some first steps you may encourage them with?
Well, I mean, you kind of said it, just start serving. Be active. Start asking questions of where is there a need? Where's the vision first and foremost? Like, what's in front of me? What's there? Where's the need? And then ask, what giftings has the Holy Spirit given me to bless and edify and glorify God with? What can I do? And where you're passionate about, where your giftings line up, and where there's a vision and a need, man, jump in. And you know what? I think some of the greatest servants are people who change diapers. Some of the greatest servants are people who are willing to come and do the behind the scenes work that nobody else notices. And there's a need for that in every church to set the environment where the gospel can be shared and disciples
Yeah,
can
that's
be made.
good. Man, I couldn't agree more. I always try to tell them, hey, start where you are, where that passion and that gift really lines up. Is that I think that sweet spot for people, right? And so while we all may serve in areas outside of our quote unquote gifting, man, try to find that spot where you are gifted and you are passionate. And man, if you can get there, that's a good spot to be, man. That's how you can, I think, run in this for the long haul. really be a blessing to the kingdom. So that's awesome. Well, I know that you guys, man, y'all do camp, mission trip, y'all. You're a gospel guy, man. You are constantly encouraging your students to share the gospel and sharing the gospel to them. Tell me this though, as you've talked with students, and I think any student who's in your ministry would know, hey man, I should be inviting my friends, I should be telling my friends about Jesus, I should be sharing my story. But a lot of times they don't, and I hear all kind of reasons. But what are some of the top reasons, or the top reason maybe you're hearing lately as to, I know I should, but I'm not because dot dot dot. What would that fill in the blank be for you?
First, I'm very encouraged by a lot of the students I'm watching actually rise up
Yes.
and share their faith. Let me preface all that. I don't want to be doom and gloom here. But even I would say the struggle is not even just limited to students. I think it's even the conversation I'm
Amen.
having with adults, you and
Yes.
I at times, right? I think it could be, I could think it could be put into a variety of categories. I think it's from a simple of, I wasn't looking for it necessarily, or I wasn't thinking of it. Like our
Yeah.
schedules are filled,
Yeah.
our time is filled, we're somewhat preoccupied with our
Mm-hmm.
phones or whatever it might be. And so sometimes it's just not on the
That's
front part
good.
of our mind. And so, you know what? Let's start thinking about it a little bit more. Let's
Yeah.
put some reminders. Let's
Yeah.
challenge ourselves. Let's, you know what? Are we
Mm.
praying
Yeah.
and asking God
That's
for
right.
opportunities? So I don't. It may not be on the forefront of our minds
Mm.
because we're not praying and asking God
That's
to
good.
use us
Yeah.
to share the gospel. I think it starts there. I think sometimes it starts with the fear of man, the
Yeah.
rejection of man, where people will say, you know, how are they going to respond? Are they going to hate me? Are
Yeah.
they going to dislike me? Are they going to
Mhm.
reject me? And so I think speaking that confidence into people and saying, hey, listen, remember, it's
Mhm.
not your name and it's not your message. You simply
That's
just get
it.
to be the messenger. So why don't you, if you look at the Great Commission in the words of Jesus, at the very tail end of Matthew 28, 19 to 20, he says, and I will be with you even to the end of the age. I think we got to hold on to
Mhm.
that promise that sometimes we overlook and take comfort and delight that, you know what, I might be afraid to
Mhm.
share the gospel because I might screw up. Well, remember, the Holy
That's
Spirit's
right.
bigger. I'm afraid, I'm afraid that they're going to reject me and not like me. Well, remember, you're fully known and
Yeah.
fully loved by God. And don't
Mm.
try to impress other people. Just glorify and be obedient to
Yeah.
Jesus. And you know what? I'm afraid because simply I'm
Mhm.
just scared. Take comfort and hold on to the truth. Hey, Christ
Mm.
is with you, and that doesn't mean that the
Right.
fear goes away, but it means that you have courage in the
Mhm.
face of fear and the boldness despite the circumstances. So I think we're not praying about it it's not on our minds. We're afraid. Sometimes it boils down to students just simply don't know the
Yeah.
gospel. So how are we equipping our students to articulate and understand the
Yeah.
gospel? And there's all sorts
Right.
of different methods. We talk about the
Mhm.
three circle method here in Preston with students, but just a simple, tangible way. Shane says it. Shane
Mhm.
Pruitt's a good friend of ours. He says the best method
That's
is the
right,
one that
man.
shares the gospel.
Absolutely.
And so let's help our students with the equipping
Yeah.
piece of, here are the nuts and bolts of the gospel so that they're not overcomplicating it. It's a powerful, simple message. Don't
Yeah.
muddy it up.
I love that, man. All those are incredible. And man, I couldn't amen that enough. And the cool thing is, if you're watching this or listening, we have a simple prayer guide that we like to share. It's called Seven Go Tell Prayers. And I will drop the link in the notes here if you're watching this. And you can click on that. It's a free PDF. It's just 7 prayers. There's one for every day. And so I believe, like you, Mick, if we start praying every day for a heart to share the gospel, man, we're going to begin to share the gospel, right? I've always found that's true in my life. The more I pray for opportunities, it seems like the more opportunities I have, right? So,
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to talk about how we want to reach the lost if we're not
yeah,
burdened and
that's right,
broken
man.
for the loss. And when our hearts are broken for those who are
Hmm.
apart from Jesus, man, we're desperately seeking for
Yeah.
the hope of Christ to fill and flood their lives. And we want to do everything we can
Hmm.
that's within our grasp. We can't change lives, but we can be uh,
Yeah.
ambassadors
That's it,
and
man.
gospel
That
sharers.
that's so good, and I think our hearts truly do get molded and, if you will, broken in prayer, right? In prayer, when the Holy Spirit reveals to us how lost we were, then it begins to reveal to us the lostness. I think of Isaiah, right? He encountered the Lord. What did he say? I saw the Lord. What happened? He saw two things. I'm broken and everybody around me is jacked up too. And so I think, man, when we encounter God, those two
Yeah.
things happen.
Well, in our prayer time, it reminds us, it gives us that, again, that
Yeah.
high view of God, that
Mhm.
holiness, the majesty, the idea that God himself desires relationship and did everything he could to restore
Mhm.
man to himself and redeem us.
Yeah.
Man, how grateful am I for that?
Yeah.
Now, what's my response to that? I want to tell
Mhm.
and share
That's
people
right,
about this
man. That's
goodness.
so that's so good. Hey, and if you're watching this, and don't forget if you're like Mick said, man, figure out a way to share the gospel. And if you're needing some free training, just go to 1millionsent.com. We have completely free training there that you can get trained to share the gospel. If you happen to be a leader of a group or a youth ministry, there's training there that you can leverage as well to train your group. So man, there's so many resources available. That's one, and but it's like you said, bro. It's just one of just figure out a way, get clear and get confident and start consistently sharing the gospel. So, say there was a student, Mick, who came to you and was like, "Hey, I want to tell my buddy John about Jesus. What should I do first? What would you tell them, man? What would you say? What should I do first? And how would you tell them that?"
Number one, you should
Yep.
be praying for the person. Um, Number two, don't try to just get to the end goal as fast as you possibly can. It's
Mhm.
not the pace, right? It's the intentionality of saying, all right, how can I get to know this
Mhm.
person, build a relationship, ask questions so that I can build a bridge to
Yeah.
the gospel conversation. So it's helping our students understand, hey, listen, don't
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
weird, right? Like be a normal person trying to get
Right.
to know somebody. So ask them questions. Now, don't just skirt around it and try to avoid and ask
Mhm.
questions to derail. Ask leading
Yeah.
questions to get to know them better, right? There's a purpose behind your questions.
Right.
You're not being manipulative. You're simply trying to ask them questions to get to know them to discern how to then drive the
Yes.
conversation
Yeah.
forward
I
and
love it.
towards
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
gospel. Get to know them. And when you find that bridge, oftentimes you hear that question like, "Hey, that's interesting when you told me about this your part of your life. Was there any point in time in your life where maybe there was faith tied to that or
Yeah.
and just let them talk. Maybe they reciprocate and they ask you a question and tee you up.
There you go.
Share the gospel. I think it starts with patience. It starts with
Mhm.
listening and asking great questions, and then asking the Holy Spirit for clear discernment on when to then build that bridge and get to the gospel.
Mhm. I love that, man. Yeah, you know what? That just makes me think of we need to put together a list of great conversation questions to have. Because I think
Yes.
sometimes they want to have the conversation, but they don't know what to ask. And if they would just know some questions, that it just kind of flows out of that. And so hey, those of you that are watching, hold me to it. Let's put this together. You were gonna say
One
something?
of the things I tell our students, and I always give this free advice to our young ladies. Hey,
Mhm.
ladies, remember that if a guy is talking more than he's listening to you on a date, he's not into you. He's into himself. And so I always correlate that to like, hey, listen, when you're sharing the gospel,
Mhm.
there should be, when you look at the holistic view of that conversation, you're probably going to be listening to that individual more than you are talking
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
individual. That's going to be the bulk of it.
yeah.
Listen well and hear
Hmm.
them, and you're gonna hear the brokenness, and then you're gonna
Yeah.
be able to speak into it at the right moment.
That's good, man. Yeah. Ask those questions and listen. So key, man. Make sure you listen. I love that a lot. The truth is, I know in ministry, you've had those times where you had a student who, what I like to say, they just got it. They were like, maybe they were saved and man, they just immediately went out on fire and started sharing. Maybe they were saved for a while and God just did a fresh work in them. And man, they just started sharing the gospel, inviting friends. I always like to give people opportunity to share stories, just brag on something you've seen in one of your students' lives, man, because I think stories inspire other stories. And so is there a story that maybe floats to the top of mind of a student, young man, young lady who really just got it, man, and they became someone who was, if you will, one of those catalysts in your ministry, maybe, and really began to invite people, share the gospel? Is there a time like that, a story you'd like to share?
The first young man that came to my mind is a high school guy named Nate.
Okay.
Let me go back just a few months ago. We were doing one of our intentional days where we call them share days, right? And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
we gathered some of our students, and man, we're going to take some key hours in our day and let's go pray with people in the community with the hope that we get to share the gospel
Yeah.
and lead them to Jesus. So I'm with our high school student. His name is Nate, and we're in an area here in North Dallas where there's a bunch of shopping going on
Mhm.
outside, and uh, Nate and I and another one of our students are together. We're in groups of three, and I tell the guys, hey, listen, let me kind of break the ice. Let me do the first couple people, get to know them, and watch, listen, see how we do this. Great, awesome. And then I told them, all right, now it's up to you. So I'm going to be around, but this is you. And we started walking down the street, and I looked over at a guy who was doing valet parking for one of these restaurants.
Yeah.
Before I could say a word, I watched Nate make a beeline for this young man. Now, this young man is like, this is summertime, and he looks like he's a junior, senior in high school,
Hmm.
maybe a
Yeah.
young college type student. And Nate's making a beeline for that dude. I didn't say a word. And he goes straight over to there. And 10, 15 minutes later, Nate comes back and goes, I got to pray with him, and he just gave his life to Jesus. And I'm like, are you serious right now? I mean, incredible moment. And Nate has really come out of his shell.
Yeah.
We did another share day not too long after that, and he got more people involved. We went to a mall for a
Mhm.
couple hours, and he got to lead a couple more people to Jesus at the mall. Um, so it's
I
amazing, man.
love
I'm
it.
so
Yeah.
inspired by again this generation. When students are saying, "Hey, I'm all in with Jesus,"
Yeah.
they've counted the cost, man, and they understand.
That's
Hey,
good. Yeah.
I, let's do this. If I say Jesus is Lord and Jesus is King, then I'm going to be all about His kingdom. And
Yeah.
it may not go well for me on this side of eternity, but I'm not living for the applause of men. So that Nate's one of our students who inspires me and how
Wow.
he's living out and being faithful to sharing the gospel.
Dude, I love those stories, man. Those stories fire me up and amp me up too, man. And I hope it's encouraging you as you're listening or watching to this, wherever you are. And hey, by the way, if you've got a story to share, I'd love to hear about it. So drop it information to us. And man, we'd love to just hear, because I do believe these stories just spark more. And when you hear teenagers say, hey, here's what God did in me and through me, it just inspires us to go, man, if he did, I could do that, right? I could do that. And you're right, man. It's a different day for teenagers, because to come to Jesus today, even in America, you do have to count the cost now. It is not the thing to do, right? And so, man, thanks for sharing that encouragement and just being on here today. Mick, every time we have a conversation, man, I'm super encouraged, and I love what you're doing. I'm thankful for your ministry, and I know as we got to hang out and talk some today, there are people that resonate with different people, and so somebody may have been listening to you going, man, I want to ask that guy a question, or hey, I feel like I want to hear more from him. How can people connect with you beyond this podcast?
So I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Type in Jason Mick, Mick. So
Mhm.
Jason Mick, Twitter, Instagram. If you want my email address, that is jmick@prestonwood.org. So I would love to connect with you. And oftentimes just know this, if you're reaching out to me to ask questions, more than likely I'm going to have a lot of questions for you as
That's
well.
right. Yeah.
Love to get to know you and learn about ministry in your context and learn some things that God's doing in and through you as well. So love to have the conversation and the opportunity to connect.
Man, thank you for that, Jason. And listen, I encourage you, and if you're a leader, particularly in student ministry, Jason and his whole crew are a great team to learn from and ask questions to. And so reach out to him, and don't forget to continue to share this information out. Maybe you were encouraged today by something Mick said. Maybe you're like, when he said something, you were like, oh man, I need to make sure so and so hears this. I believe those are promptings by the Holy Spirit. So man, share this out, subscribe, let people know what's happening, because listen, reaching a generation endangered, it's not a me thing, it's a we thing. It's something we have to be in together, and man, we can do this. And so Mick, before we jump off here though, man, I got to come all the way back to that question, the question, the deep theological question, man. I'm not even going to guess, I'm just going to let you say, man, is Jason Mick a dog guy or a cat guy?
Dog all
Oh,
day.
they are. Love it, man. I love it. So, y'all, do you guys have a dog?
We do. His name is
There
Rocket.
you go. Is he fast?
He's the perfect dog for our
I
family.
love it, man. Now, his name's Rocket. Is he fast? Is he a fast one?
He is a quick
Yeah.
little critter. Yeah. We adopted him. He was only 6 or 7 months
Yeah.
old, and he had already given his
Hey.
name from a family in
Oh, there
Houston
you go.
named after the Houston
Houston
Rockets.
Rockets. There you go.
So,
There you go. Well, that's okay.
so
That's all right, man. We'll go with it. We know we live in Dallas. We're Maverick fans. That's how it is. That's what, that's how it goes. But we'll put up with Rocket right now, man. Well, Mick, thanks for being on here, bro. Thank you for what you're doing in ministry, man. I love every time we get to sit down and have a conversation. I can't wait to do it again. And then for everybody watching, I just want to say thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to go resources at 1millioncents.com. We'll put all of Jason's information in the show notes, and you can check that out and connect with him. Also, we'll put the 7 Go Tell Prayer Guide link in there as well. Hopefully, we can continue to reach this generation endangered. And so don't forget, as we close out, I always like to say this: today is a great day to tell someone about Jesus. So let's go tell.